All right, let's stay with this particular conversation now and speak to Advocate Makhosini Msibi, CEO of the Road Traffic Management Corporation. Let me thank you so much for your time, Advocate. Before we even get into some of the strategies and the concerns around, the Easter weekend, I'm sure you've possibly heard some of the motorists there who are saying that, authorities like yourselves are wasting time conducting roadblocks if the roads are in such a bad state. And, that also defeats the purpose of trying to ensure road safety. How do you respond?
Well, thank you for having us. It's quite unfortunate that some of the people could then be saying that it is a waste of time to conduct these roadblocks when the roads are in a bad state. In fact, the converse should be applying. If they are in the worst state of affairs, that will then impel and compel drivers to drive very slow and wouldn't be having these accidents. It is highly irresponsible when the state of the roads, as they aver and allege, which we deny, will then be the cause for concern. For instance, the N2 that we went to today between Emelo Mkhondo up to Richards Bay, it is a road that is currently under construction. The rehabilitation of the road is taking place. And if you look in terms of the entire national roads that we have in South Africa, that's the world-class infrastructure that you can ever have, which even the first countries don't have the infrastructure that we have. In fact, our national roads are the best that you can ever have. We admit that indeed there are challenges here and there, but Sivala Sonke program is attending to such issues where there are potholes to ensure that our roads are smooth.
Pardon me for, staying with this. Of course, you don't speak for the Department of Transport, but you're saying something that this is the best we can ever have. But the minister says she does understand that some of the roads are bad, and especially where she was. So which is which?
I have said that the infrastructure that we have is a state of the art. However, we admit that some of the roads that are currently being considered and are currently under rehabilitation. The rehabilitation is precisely meant to deal with the bad state of road that we have. But what is government doing is rehabilitating those roads, like the N2. If you can travel in the N2 between Emelo up to Richards Bay, that road is under intensive reconstruction and rehabilitation, simply because the infrastructure was destroyed by trucks that were overloading, by trucks that were the freight that was supposed to be on rail, which has taken the advantage to be on the roads and has damaged our infrastructure. We admit and concede to that effect. That's why the minister was very clear to say we are currently very busy ensuring that we take back the freight to rail and ensure that all rail-related transport is functional and all the freight as well as the coal are back on rail. It is precisely the intervention that government is making.
So Advocate Msibi, thank you so much for that indulgence. Let's talk about the roads. I mean, you and I have had this conversation before. Drunken driving is a huge problem. And not only for the Easter weekend, for example, people continue to violate this particular rule of the road. And I wonder, what strategy are you trying to put in place? Because yes, you can't take accountability for bad behavior by the drivers. So what are you doing then differently to try and clamp down on this? Because it's also part of a huge concern around the Easter safety.
Well, there are a number of interventions that we're dealing with in terms of strategies. One is to ensure that we begin to educate people. Because if you inculcate a culture of responsibility, we are then beginning to deal with an afterthought matter, which ordinarily, even when we arrest people, it's an after effect. But what you need to do is to ensure that you promote good citizenry. How do we then promote the good citizenry? Is to educate and ensure that the road safety becomes part and parcel of the curriculum of the at the school level. We also are dealing with road safety at the school level in terms of practical examples, you will then realize that you are also beginning to introduce the issue of driving at the tender age. We now have simulators that we have now beginning to introduce at the tertiary level as well as at the high school level, so that children are then better schooled, because it's better to educate the child while he's still young, so that he then have and assume the responsibility at the tender age. Two is then to begin to review our driver license processes, because most of people that you have on the roads, unfortunately, are a consequence of fraudulent acquisition of driver's licenses. Most of our people that we have on the roads who do not understand, because they have not gone through the process of acquiring the license in the proper perspective. They don't understand what K53 is. Yeah. They neither do understand what the responsibility is. We are the first to accept, and we're clamping down on them, we're arresting them day in, day out. However, we cannot have the number of police people that can investigate these matters, because the investigation of the fraudulent driver's licenses takes not less than 9 months. Yeah. So you'll then understand that it takes quite a while to just pursue a few. But we're also calling on the driving school as well as the public on their own to be whistleblowers, because we know these people. We know that my father in the same house has not got the license through the proper channels. We know that my child has not got a proper channel. For instance, let me then deal with the issue back home, because charity begins at home. We had traffic officers that we employed. When we're testing them, we find that these traffic officers have driver's licenses, but they cannot drive. Then we started the investigation. You then find out that at the time, at the pressure that they had, they wanted to have the driver's licenses. They go through wrong methodology. But we are sitting in the investigation of our own of more than 400 cases in the traffic officers themselves, not even with the public. But if you then take the number to the public, we're sitting well above 1.2 that we are investigating of those people that fraudulently acquired their driver's licenses.
And Advocate Msibi, I do hope that we circle back to this conversation and see how that investigation continues, because it's quite an important point that you and I are ending off there. And, I do hope we speak about it again, because it is a cause for concern, not only from the authorities' side, but also people who do this, deliberately and put the lives of people in danger on the roads. But let me thank you so much for your time. And we'll speak again, of course, as, the Easter weekend kicks off, to see how things are looking on the roads. I appreciate your time this evening.
I appreciate it very much. I'll invite you in the next weeks when we are clamping down on them. Be part of us.
We'll definitely be there. Thank you so much. That's Advocate Makhosini Msibi, CEO of the Road Traffic Management Corporation. More than 400 cases of traffic officers who can't drive. Wow. Okay. This is, in fact, quite concerning, but we'll continue to see some of these cases that are, as he says, are being investigated, and we'll see exactly what is going on there. And these licenses that he says they are investigating, them acquired, fraudulently as well. That's a very serious investigation that is taking place. We'll continue to bring you more on it and get exactly what is going on there.